185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
From dehumanization to arms production, for the benefit of a nation or its destruction. Power is power, it's the law of the land. Those who live for death will die by their own hands. Life is no ordeal if you can come to terms. Reject the system which dictates the norm. From dehumanization to arms production, for the benefit of a nation or its destruction. It's your choice, peace or annihilation.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast.
Annihilation is to all these yes. I'm the end of war, the dream of death. Annihilation, annihilation, annihilation. Destruction, destruction, destruction. Streets are on fire.
What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are back and talking hardcore. And this week, we're talking a great year for hardcore. 1983. Holy shit, the Antidote 7-inch comes out. United Blood comes out. What else is happening this year, Dan?
I mean, tent poles of everybody who's listening's record collection records come out this year. Like, there is a lot to choose from, and it's going to get grimy, it's going to get dirty, it's going to get skullduggerous.
Yeah. Ben, what's the State of the Union for 1983?
All right. It's UK Mob versus NYC Mob. It's UK Subhumans versus Canadian Subhumans. It's Riot Squad by Cockspar versus Riot Squad by Bad Brains. It's 1.5 versus Hardcore. 80, 81, and 82 are more formative years, but 83 is where Hardcore is now in every city, and a tidal wave of releases by bands with initials as names are being pumped out. Debut records by D.I., D.R.I., P.I., C.I.A., A.F., S.T., B.G.K., A.O.D., Double O, Circle One, Antidote, Naked Raygun, The Faction, Ill Repute, Aggression, United Mutation, Secret Hate, Honor Roll, Jerry's Kids, Rebel Truth, and Bad Posture. Demos by Rob Howard, Murphy's Law. Bands who broke up this year: Minor Threat, Misfits, The Faith, Bad Religion, temporarily. Record labels that are formed: R&B Records, Thrasher Magazine with the first skate rock cassette comp, DSI Records, Fountain of Youth, No Future spinoff Future Records, Toxic Shock, Buy Our Records, and Zach's favorite label, Ghetto Way Records. 1.5, still going strong-ish with records by Channel 3, Chronic Sick, The Dicks, The Effigies, The Freeze, Legal Weapon, Social Distortion, and the aforementioned Naked Raygun and D.I. But it is losing out to straight up fast as fuck hardcore. And then this is the best section: shit getting weird. Bad Religion takes off the bandanas and spurs and starts dropping LSD. Blitz trade in their boots for synths. And the Beastie Boys put down their guitars and start crank calling a Carvel ice cream shop. And the last thing to note is our 100 best punk / hardcore records of the 80s master list, which you can look up on 185milessouth.com. If you check that out and you count the total number of records that came out in 1983 on the master list, it is the greatest number for any year with 19 entries. So we picked collectively more records from this year than any other year in the 80s.
Dude, I got so excited about talking 83, I forgot to introduce everyone. So everyone, that was Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Ben Edge, a.k.a. Bedge. Ben, how you doing?
Pretty well.
Awesome. Also helping out, it is the best recipe out of the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Rodri's on fire. Your defense is terrified.
Totally won't make sense. Thanks for dating the pod. And also rounding us out, don't call him Cincinnati. It is the man known as Clevo. What's up, Clevo?
From dehumanization to arms production, this year is fucking off the hook.
Hell yeah. Clevo, jump right in. What's your opinion on 83?
So every time we do one of these, I mean to like post a picture of my list because I make these lists when I do them, and also because I'm not sure people listening understand how difficult this actually is. It sounds like we're having a good time, but like we do put a lot of work into this. This is the shortest list I've ever made, but if I get any 7 songs on my list, my playlist like theoretically could win any vote. So like any playlist we make out of the records we picked on this is like going to be possibly the best playlist we've made out of any of the Super 7s we've made.
The year is so good. It is insane. And also, everyone, I'm Zach. Some of you hit me up like I should introduce myself. What the fuck? Y'all know. Just go on the website. Yeah, Dan, let's jump right in. We're doing a Super 7 on this. Tell them the rules of the Super 7 and let them know the order.
Okay, so a Super 7 is a competitive playlist making fun little competition. So we go in like fantasy football order. Pick one, picks a song. That band is still up for grabs, but that song is taken. At the end of 7 rounds with 7 picks per person, we throw it up to the 185 faithful to vote on who they think has the best playlist. It's really fun. And all of the songs, if they're all on Spotify, sometimes there's a couple missing, but we'll tell you where to find them if we know that is non-Spotify. Clevo. We'll throw them up as a giant 28-song playlist, and maybe even a couple of other things that we've mentioned throughout the time get tacked on just for fun. But you got to go listen to that stuff because it is the stuff of gold. Now, for 1983, there's going to be a lot of stuff here that you probably know, but it's all going to be in one place for your lovely little eardrums to dial in on it. The order this time is myself, Zach, then Ben, then Clevo, bringing up the Ohio Curse.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, I just want to like say one thing about the competition aspect. It's we're doing the playlist that's the best for us. Like we're not catering, right, Dan?
Oh, absolutely. When I say competitive, I mean we just like to have fun with it on the back end. It literally is just like these are our favorite songs. If the listeners agree with you or don't, that really doesn't necessarily matter. We're not like putting 7 songs that we think would be universally agreed upon because, you know, we've all picked some serious left field stuff in the past that people have gone, are you fucking kidding?
Right. Yeah. But we should say for 1983, there is a moral obligation to pick a song first for the playlist, Dan. So I have a question for you. Are you going to do the right thing or not?
I'm living that villain gimmick. Fuck no.
Well, what are you taking?
What I would like to say is, do we just put that as the lead-off track just for the sake of the thing, and then we all pick our picks after this?
Don't try to like wiggle the rules, Dan. You either do the right thing or you live in shame, like not picking a Minor Threat for the Straight Edge Super 7.
Well, you know that has been cement boots for me, and I'll never wriggle out of it, so may as well add it onto the gimmick. I'm going to blow some salt in your eyes right now, everyone.
And you're going to take Blitz, New Age.
Well, I'm not only taking the best punk song of 1983, I'm taking potentially the best punk song of all time. Zach has already predicted it in the group chat, predicted it just now. I mean, it's there. How could I not take it? New Age by Blitz.
Well, Dan, you got to do the right thing for 83. So we're going to send this off to the ghost of Tim Yohannan.
Yeah, but
I, the ghost of Tim Yohannan. I will not allow it.
All right, Dan, you've officially lost your turn. And we move on to number 2, which has moved up to number 1. And I will do the right thing. From dehumanization to arms production, for the benefit of a nation or its destruction. Power is power, it's the law of the land. Those who live for death will die by their own hands. Life is no ordeal if you come to terms. reject the system which dictates the norm, from dehumanization to arms production, for the benefit of a nation or its destruction. It's your choice. Peace or annihilation. Number one song of 1983. Dan, you're fucking crazy. It's the first song on the playlist. This song is so perfect. And it's like not only America's answer, but it's the West Coast answer to like the D beat sound, right? Like we can do it too. And they knock it out of the park with this song lyrically, and like, oh my God, the vibe is just out of this world. Also, just want to note that the breakdown on this song, the way it comes in is so perfect. I love when like a breakdown like this hits with like no build up into it, just right in, kind of like a Judge does on In My Way, just right in, and then it's the perfect tempo, and I just picture this thing as like being a fucking war zone when it hits. Like, oh my God. And this song is so short, just in and out. Absolutely perfect hardcore song. Best song of 83. And that's what's up. Number one on the playlist. Clevo, you shouted this out for a second there. What's your take on this?
This is actually, when I was doing my research, this is actually the last record from 1983 I listened to today, because I wanted it to be fresh in my mind when we were talking about it. I've also heard it called, sort of the West Coast answer to Agnostic Front, sort of at the same time. It's got that kind of that same vibe. So yeah, it's fucking great. It just really, we talk a lot on here about like what we want from punk records. We want things to feel urgent and vital. We want it to say something. We want it to be, angry. And this record has all of it.
Yeah, it's just straight up so good. Okay, little controversy here. We're gonna send it to Timo Yohannan and see if he agrees with this move I've made.
I, the ghost of Tim Yohannan. I will allow it.
All right. Okay, now the rest of us, we're going to vote if Dan gets to go second, or if his line stepping was so egregious he gets bumped to the 4th slot. I vote Dan goes second, so he's not too mad. What do you think, Ben?
I'm so confused right now that I'll just defer to the boss, Zach. Sure, that sounds fine.
Okay, with 2 votes, Dan, you're now in the 2nd slot, and you can go ahead and take your pick.
Okay. Well, I'm taking the best punk song of all time. That's how I feel about it today. And there's could be different on a different day, but the kids on the street and the kids everywhere, all I gotta say is the kids don't care. New Age by Blitz. This is the sweet spot of Blitz being like the best oi band ever, and now they're starting to look towards synth pop as an influence, as well as post punk, etc. But this is this sweet spot as they are still the best oi band ever, or arguably the best oi band ever, whilst just doing that meme where they're like holding hands with their girlfriend and then looking over their shoulder at something else. And that's what New Age is. It's just the best sounding song ever. The guitars, amazing. The rhythm section, just hammering on that bass and things. And you know what? This is like, if you cut me open right now, like inside my DNA, it will say mid-tempo banger. And, it's not just referring to my sexual prowess. It's actually referring to the songs that just do it for me the most. And this is the banger of all mid-tempo bangers. Don't you think?
I think it's one of the greatest songs of all time. I would argue it doesn't bang, but it's a great song. It's a great pick because it's the one to pull off this record, right? Or is it just a 7-inch this year, Dan?
7-inch, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great classic song, And then, in my opinion, they completely fall off the stick. Although I've seen a lot of people loving the last couple records in recent years. So, but I also think that like a lot of liking bands' later catalogs now, like in an unironic way, is because everything's on streaming, so you can like just pick and choose a couple songs. You don't have that like that regret of like, oh, dude, I heard Blitz in my friend's car, and like you went out and like, you know, spent like your weekly money on like a Blitz CD and ended up getting like some bullshit.
You got
You know,
Second
like-
Empire Justice first.
Right. Yeah, we've all had like those experiences, right? Like, and not that one with me, like, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
getting field dayed.
yeah. I think I got like that late Exodus record, like that one with that weird art cover, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, great pick, Dan. Clevo, you want to say anything on this?
Yeah, I think that you know, this. I feel like this song is really this type of music is just having a resurgence now, and I think that the DNA from this 7-inch is really, there's a lot of bands across you know, punk, post-punk, post-hardcore, just sort of hardcore adjacent, just using this as a bit of a blueprint, and it's you know, it's refreshing. You look at bands like how much do you think like a band like Homefront owes to this sound?
99.9% of their DNA.
Well, yeah, but I think like even, you know, High Vis probably owes a little bit to this, and you know, just like across the board, like bands that, you know, are really, you know, that we talk about a lot. But I think that there's other bands too that, you know, are just doing that, and it is nice to see that there's a little bit of a, you know, it's not everything's samey anymore.
True. Let's see here. Who's number 3?
That'd be me.
Ben.
Oh yeah, Ben. Do you want to say anything about this, or you want to take your pick?
Yeah, I had this as one of my honorables. It's sort of the transition single between Blitz, the Oi band, and Blitz, the post-punk band. So you kind of have the best of both worlds on this song. And I do think it's better than any one song on Second Empire Justice. I think they leaned, I wouldn't say they leaned to post-punk because I love bands like Joy Division, but there's just not as many, there's not songs that have hooks like the hook on this song on Second Empire Justice. So great pick, Dan. And of course, Dehumanization, great pick, Zach. So for my number 1, I'm going to go, you know what? Today I felt like drinking a Pepsi, but my mom, who lives many, many miles away, she just wouldn't give me a Pepsi, and it really made me upset. So, Institutionalized Suicidal Tendencies. This is the song they're going to be remembered by. It's pretty obvious. And when I remember exactly where I was when I first heard it, I was in the parking lot of the Ralph's on 3rd and La Brea, sitting in my uncle's car with Rodney on the Rock playing. And I thought, wow, what is going on with this song? It's like someone telling a story, but losing their mind at the same time, ranting the verses, just spoken verses, and then screaming the choruses. What more can be said about Suicidal Tendencies, Institutionalized? It's just kind of like a singular. I say this about a lot of things, but I'm picking singular songs for a reason, because if someone else picked this first, I don't know if anything else from this album, which is pretty great all the way through, would be a pick of mine.
Subliminal is very close, and I think it's better.
I don't know. Memories of Tomorrow is really good. Well, it doesn't matter. This is the song. So flip up your hat, put on your bandana, you get your dangly earring, and go out and do a bunch of bonelesses, and have Glennie Friedman film you doing it. Shout out Lisa Fancher, who put out this record in 1983.
Yeah, this is a great song, classic song, and we should all do our Suicidal Tendencies talk now. It might bail me out because there's like 10 things I need on my list, and I was going to take Subliminal, but I think, Ben, you can have this. And yeah, sick pick. I mean, this LP is so crucial, and it's a wild fast beat on this, right? Like Minor Threat and like the DC bands do like a nice like double time fast beat, and like this is like unhinged. It's so sick. So yeah, Clevo, what do you got on this?
I mean, just really a foundational band. I think that this is definitely one of the songs they'll be remembered for. But I remember when I was in school, everyone, no matter what they were into, everyone knew I Saw Your Mommy. I think that might be the actual song that they might be remembered for widely, which is kind of sad because that's just kind of the joke song. I Won't Fall in Love Today, I think, is a great song. I mean, this record is just front to back, just crucial. Like this is the Suicidal record. They'll have a couple hits after this, but really this is front to back. This is the record.
Well, it's a hardcore record, right? Like they do a great album of another style. That How I Laugh Tomorrow If I Can't Even Smile Today is like one of my favorite albums of all time of any genre. But this is like the punk record or the hardcore record. Yeah, I Want More might be my favorite song off this. I don't know. This whole thing is completely essential, and like it's funny because it's one of those albums that has like so many tentpole moments, but it's also like better as a sum of all parts because it really does take you on a journey. Like listen to this thing like all the way. I encourage anyone to go back and listen to this if they haven't in a while. Like when you're going on a nice drive or something, just take it all in. It's wild. It is a great timeless record. Dan, you want to speak on this, or should we send it to Clevo for his number one?
Yeah, I'm with Clevo. Like, I Saw Your Mommy is the one that really stands out to me, but in recent years, because L7 Pretend We're Dead is just a complete rip-off of it, and I wonder if they ever got any of that 120 minutes money. I discovered this song before anything, obviously, due to MTV and like coming over visiting my dad and seeing it on MTV and just being like, the whole aesthetic, the whole presentation about him like just bitching, about what's been happening to him and then freaking out, like it captures the young mind immediately, so it's a great pick. It is something that escaped the genre to go way more mainstream and blow minds across other genres and to the average Joe in the street,
Clevo, let's go to you for your number one. Are you going to take something off Out of Step, or because there's so many good songs on there, are you saving it for another round? Dude, you're taking Get It Away, right?
No, I'm actually, going strategically because a lot of these records have a lot of songs that I would be happy having on my list. I'm actually going to go Bad Brains, opening track off of Rock for Light, and I'm going to go with Coptic Times. And that's mostly because I'm a Roar cassette guy, and whatever is re-recorded, remixed, whatever for Rock for Light is not my favorite, but I think Coptic Times is just such a great song. I love, like, it just kicks in, these are Coptic Times, go. And then that bass breakdown in the middle, that little jazzy bass, and then it goes back in. I love the song, and Bad Brains, God tier band, Minor Threat and a lot of other bands learned a lot from them. So taking Bad Brains, definitely going to come back to some of those other bands we've talked about so far, but this is really something I wanted to have on my list to make sure I got it.
I love this song. I'm with you. I'm Roar all day. And this is a wild one, dude. I'm going to play poser here for a minute and let everyone know, like, I always like didn't love this record because of those re-recordings and like they're played like way too fast. It like loses a little bit like the pulse. And I didn't know that, like, yeah, it's like in 1990, I think, or 92, like they do a remix on it and they sped everything up a tick. So it's kind of wild because they just recently in the last year or so, like re-released from the original stuff. So like if you have stuff pre-1990, it's like the correct speed. And if it's post-1990, it's like the wrong speed, or like a studio sped up speed. Like what's on Spotify is faster if you listen to it compared to like the recent press, like that came out. And
I
like,
think it's the Caroline CD is also the wrong speed. So the Caroline CD that came out sometime in the 90s. Definitely. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I always like to point that out that like, original mix only, like because they definitely screwed it up.
right, because it's like everything from 90 beyond is like different. And so like that's what I would have heard. And like, I don't know, like it's a wild idea to think that like someone knows better than the Bad Brains in 83, like what that tempo should have been. Like the original is so much better. Like I've been listening to it for like the last month in preparation of this, and it's like, I don't know, the songs just like they have this pulse, and then when you listen to like what's on Spotify, it's just like like it's just a little different. Like I don't know, it's pretty wild. I love this song. I think it's Bad Brains like answer to Black Flag. Like there's a little bit of that in there, and I love it. There's a couple songs on this album that I like even more. But yeah, I like this album. I've always been Roar, but can't deny, early Bad Brains. Jesus Christ. Ben, you want to speak on this?
Yeah, great pick. And again, I'm also in the Roar camp, and I managed to find a German pressing of the CD from the 80s just to get the correct speed version of this album a couple of years ago. I mean, it's what's ridiculous about that whole thing is like they're already playing everything faster than they had been the year before on the Roar tape, and which was even faster than it had been on the Black Dots. So it's like we're already playing everything like faster and faster and faster, and now let's speed it up even more. Like really, it's like kind of defeats. It's kind of self-defeating, but Coptic Times is a good song. I might come back to Bad Brains. I might not. There's just so much that happened in 83. We'll see.
Yeah. Dan, you want to speak on this, or should I take mine number 2?
I mean, we're all Roarsmen, but it just poses the question of if there's just an incredible song and it has been re-recorded, but it's a different version in this year, do we shun it or do we add it to the list? I'm in two minds right now because of, I think it's the re-recorded versions of just brilliant songs need to be on my list.
Wait, what are you referring to?
Like Right Brigade, perhaps, might be on my list.
Oh, yeah. You can take that. And same with like, if you want to take Out of Step, right?
Yeah. But I'm not a golfer, so I'll probably go in somewhere else there.
Respect. Okay, I'm going to take my number 2, and I'm going to take a Minor Threat song. I'm going to take It Follows. In my opinion, like the most tuneful, and I think we talk about uniform choice on this podcast a ton, and good God, DeBar bases shit off this. If follow me. It's like there's Uniform Choice's career right there. So
yeah.
Respect Ian for laying it down that hard on this song, and respect to DeBar for all you did. And come on the podcast, please. Ben, where does this stack up on this album?
I've never ranked the songs on this, but this is a contender for sure. Like I would be perfectly happy if this was the last pick I could choose. It would be fine by me. I used to know who wrote every song on this record, and now I have since forgotten it. God damn it. But I want to say Lyle wrote a lot of stuff on this record, and I don't think he really wrote anything on the first 7-inch. So you get more of becomes more of a group effort by the time you get to Out of Step. And the wild thing about this record is everything was recorded live, except for guitar solos. So Ian is even singing at the same time that the band is performing the songs. Both guitars, bass, drums. And it's like, first of all, it's a perfect sounding record. It's very clear. Everything sounds like you're in the room with them, and it's perfectly executed. Everyone's playing perfectly, and they're doing it all live at the same time. Like that's just like anyone who's ever been in a band and recorded a record knows that that's extraordinary. Like that just doesn't happen. So that just shows you how good this band was, not just at writing songs, but actually playing the songs they wrote.
Hell yeah. Clevo, you want to speak on this, or should I shoot it to Dan for his number 2?
This was definitely in the top. I actually almost just took this when I was kind of go back and forth, and I just was like, you know what, I'm going to take Bad Brains because I know Minor Threat's going to be there, and like I said, I'll be happy with anything off of this. So we're going to talk about this some more later.
All right, Dan, let's go to you for your number 2.
Okay. So hardcore, to all of us, like, it speaks to us on so many levels. The sound, the music, the feeling you get, and then sometimes the lyrics just match the sound of a song so perfectly, and it puts the hard in hardcore. And you know, when you hear life's never fucking given nothing to me, it's just stood by and watched me bleed. Nothing. That is hardcore. You can go to Venus right now and speak to some, anthropod over there and say, you want to know what hardcore is? I'm going to play you Nothing by Negative Approach. This is the second recorded version. The first one's on the 7-inch, but this one starts a bit noisier and it's a little bit clearer to hear, but it is still hard fucking core. Nothing, Negative Approach, need to have it. It was still there, must have it.
It's an 82 song, but it's cool.
Tied Down's 83, right?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I feel you.
It's a completely different version, and if this song is still there, I gotta have it. Like,
no, fair enough.
I'll take it in 82 as well.
I know. We're fighting over it in 82, but yeah, it's a great pick. It's a great song, And
I do love how noisy it is at the beginning, and it's a little bit different the way the bass comes out of that like open gate like feedback, and it just comes in a little bit differently. Like, it gives you a whole new taste of the same great meal.
I mean, I guess that's the question: is which version do you like better?
I mean,
yeah, this is like listening to like the Roar songs on Rock for Light.
No, I actually think I prefer the tied down version. I think.
Yeah,
you're a psychopath.
I think it's a combination of his voice, and it's like, I don't know. I think it sounds so much bigger. I'm a big fan of the tied down version.
Yeah, but the Negative Approach 7-inch is like the ultimate example of like the recording being like the fifth member of the band.
Yeah,
like that fuzz tone on that guitar is just like out of this world, And yeah, I don't know. It's like the perfect thing.
But if this bass line is being played again for another entry into the universe in 1983, you've just got to grab it.
Sure, someone should have put this song on every band every year. Like, some band should do this song, so you can choose it every year.
Absolutely.
Right? It's that good.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, when we were talking before about like Scarab playing This Is Hardcore, it's like, dude, every band should open with that Scarab intro.
Yeah.
All right. Ben, what's your number 2?
It streaks across the sky towards Bethlehem, a shining star filled with hope and love. Second coming, the new Christ won't survive. Second coming, the Christ will die. I'm picking Battalion of Saints, Second Coming. This is the original version from 83, of course, from the Mystic Records Second Coming 7-inch. They end up re-recording this the next year for their LP, and the drumming is better on that, and it's cleaner sounding, but it doesn't have quite the same impact and energy as this. This is like God tier Mystic Records for me, and they are the premier early 80s hardcore band from Zach and Dan's second hometown of San Diego, California. This is just such a mean, ugly sounding, but glorious in a way song. It's just like the ultimate like disrespect towards Christianity. And it's sung by a maniac. Like, these guys were like, I don't know if they were scary people by the time I saw them, the only one left was the singer. And there's just something about the way they were very good at playing very angry songs and also had really good lead guitar lines. It's sort of like, I'd say if you aren't that familiar with this band, but you're a big Poison Idea fan, maybe that scratches the same itch. Maybe I'm speaking out of pocket when I'm saying that, but it's sort of just
No,
like,
that's like I think that's that's the closest comparison for sure.
right, because it's like unhinged hardcore, but it's like you're a crazy person, but you're not so crazy that you aren't writing very good songs and playing them very well.
Yeah, it's like really, really good musicianship. Like play it as fast and hard as you can before like you're switching to like a scissor beat or some shit. Like it's so good, so good. I think this version might be on Spotify too.
I think it is.
'Cause
I think there's
they put out like
a discography.
there's
Yeah.
like a-
Yeah.
right. There's a full discography. So sick. This is a great choice, and yeah, they appear. I think the first time in '82, they're on the "Someone Got Their Head Kicked In" LP. And I can't remember. I think that Sean Stern told the story on the podcast. Like they came up to record and the dude was like so shy. They like put up a curtain, and he sang behind it. So like people wouldn't watch him, which is like insane when you think about like the delivery this dude gives, that he would be like shy, it's wild. And one of my bands played with them once at Ventura Theater. And the dude at that time, like, I don't know if he was going through it or what, but like he was like really drunk backstage,
Yes.
and like he was literally like Rodney Dangerfield. Like what? It was so funny. Like like he drank a beer and then like spat it up on accident and like did something funny. Like, oh wow, it was literally like Rodney Dangerfield on Caddyshack or some shit. Like I don't know. It was out of this world.
I remember.
Anyway.
I remember seeing them play, and that they had a new drummer. Who was this like, scary looking bald guy who looked like he could have been an original member, but it was his first show playing drums with them. And I forget which song they did, maybe Beefmaster. And right when the song was over, he stood up from his drum kit and he put his hands in the air like he had just won, a 100-meter dash, or he just won a marathon, and he went, yeah. And I was just like, and we were all just like, fuck yeah, that's hardcore.
That rules. Yeah, when I saw him that time, I feel like the drummer looked like he was like 19. So who knows? Clevo, you want to say anything on this? So you want to take your number 2?
I'm gonna go ahead and take my number 2. I'm gonna go with Urban Waste, Police Brutality.
Yeah.
Because this is another one that I feel like I have to have on my list. Ben just talked about Battalion of Saints sounding unhinged. I think that there's times on this record, but on this song too, where it's just like his vocals are just like so strained when he's just like, there's a cop, any cop, they all fucking suck. Like this again is a great anti-police song. It just kicks in with the riff, and it's like police brutality, and then it just like this anti-cop diatribe. And actually, and my positively favorite part of the song, of course, is at the end in that total New York accent when he's like, it's police brutality. Like it just is so good at the end where it just comes out of nowhere. But yeah, fucking this is very early New York hardcore. It's not like this definitely does have its time, but this is really just like fast and in your face, and it's a great record. This is a bit of collector core, but it's fucking this has everything I want in a hardcore punk song.
It's unhinged to a point, but it's also very tight. Like that tiny little break they throw in the chorus, like that's insane. Like the starts and stops like that. Like good God, man.
I just think he's really he's just really getting into it on the vocals, but yeah, it's like it's like fuzzy and dirty, but yeah, it does have those precise stops where it's like police brutality.
Right. Yeah, it's so good. So good. Ben, you got anything on this?
Yeah, I learned this a couple years ago. This was recorded at Power Play Studios in Queens, in Long Island City, Queens, which is famous for being the recording studio where almost every New York rap record of the 80s and 90s was recorded. But this is just before the first rap record was recorded at Power Play. I think 83 is when that started. But it's just like, if you click on Power Play Studios on Discogs and you go down it's like Urban Waste is like the third thing from the top, and then it's just like every rap record you can possibly think of, and then Sick of It All, Blood, Sweat, No Tears, and then more rap records. Like, I want to say Nas Illmatic might have been recorded here, but it's like it's just kind of one of those fun or unfun facts. But yeah, I like this record. I don't know if I'd put it up on the same pedestal I'd put the Antidote 7-inch, but it's good.
Also, another fun or unfun fact about the 7-inch, I believe the song Ignorant is the first time that a bounce part appears in hardcore. Like a drum beat that goes doom, do da, doom, do da, doom, do da, which of course would be like a staple, in, the late 80s and the 90s and beyond, up to present day when it's, bigger than ever. So if anyone knows a bounce part in hardcore that predates this, please write me and let me know. Dan, do you have anything on this, or do you want me to take my number 3?
Well, what's cool about that being in a song called Ignorant is that beat would then go on to be in many Igno songs going forward.
A great point from the trivia champion. I love it. Okay. Let's see what I got to do here. I am going to take Friend or Foe off United Blood. Not the best recording, but one of the greatest songs of all time. So simple, so good. Pure hardcore, catchy major chord riffs, just like everything about it feels so good and so right. Like, every word, the riff, you can sing it. It's just a perfect hardcore song, and I had to have it on my list. Great 7-inch, although I wish you could hear the snare drum, but what can you do? I still love it. Dan, what do you think about this?
Killer pick. I mean, the minute you just mentioned it, in my head, I just went, friend! Oh, like, just in my head, like, it instantly just pops into your head, because it is, not only is it amazing for the time, it has been kept alive through, the legacy of the band and then going into Madball, etc., and been covered a million times because it is that classic. Brilliant hardcore song. Absolute representation of what hardcore is.
Yeah, 100%. Clevo, you got anything on this?
I mean, it's Agnostic Front.
Right.
This is another record, though, that I feel like there's still songs that will be around, which is why I jumped in on the Urban Waste quickly.
Yeah. That's true. You can take almost every song off this, and it's sick. But as far as tentpole songs, is this one or United Blood probably? Okay, Ben, you got anything on this, or should I shoot it at Dan for his number 2?
Yeah, this was on my honorables. This was the song from the 7-inch that I had on my honorables. And keeping on the topic of recording studios, this is the first hardcore record produced by Don Fury, which he ends up being like the guy you go to if you're a hardcore band from New York throughout the rest of the decade, pretty much. So blame him for not miking the snare properly. Rabies snare, right? Rabies is the drummer on this record.
That's right. Well, Rabies hit the fuck out of that that hi-hat. He didn't hit that snare that hard, unfortunately. Or it was mic'd poorly, but whatever. You live and learn, right? And Don Fury goes on and does all the great records, so whatever. Okay, Dan, number 3.
Yeah, and then you take Don Fury to Normandy Sound to piss them off.
Right. Yeah, what Dan's referring to, go listen to the One Voice episode, everyone, talking about when AF brought Don Fury up to record at Normandy Sound in Rhode Island. So, Dan, okay, number 3.
It's still here. It's my favorite one off this record. I mean, there are a few of these LPs or EPs and LPs that have multiple songs, and we'd all be happy just getting something off it. But the fact that this song is here still, I am so happy, because this was the one that I was gambling, and then we can put to bed the Dan Sant legend of leaving this band on red. Maybe it was no one's fault. I know it wasn't mine. Betray, Minor Threat. This is my favorite Minor Threat song, I think. I mean, it could easily be another one on a different day, but this has always been pretty much my favorite because of the way that it does the stop-start type riff, and then it goes into the... Actually, would you say this is bouncy when it goes into the dun 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 dun? That always felt bouncy to me. Does it not count in that same way?
Well, doesn't that part give you like more of a funky feeling than like a hard feeling?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really good. It just makes me want to bounce for real. So, and especially when Sick of It All used to cover it. Last chance to dance, everybody. It's so good. I mean, this song it's brilliant. It's Minor Threat. Clevo said it's AF. Well, it's Minor Threat. This is as good as it gets for hardcore. This is the top of the mountain. You go up to the top of the mountain. There's a monk there, and he's got a Minor Threat sheep on his robes, and he's doing bed dives onto his rock bed.
Well, the top of the mountain was 2 years ago when they did Filler, right, Dan?
Yeah, but Minor Threat, they didn't get knocked off the top of the mountain. They just stayed there and added.
Fair. That's fair. Ben, you want to speak on this?
Yeah, this has got to be the origin of that da-da-da, and instead does that. You hear that on a lot of songs after this, but it's a really, really catchy, well written kind of a thing. Who is betraying him in this? I should know this. I don't know the answer. Who's this song actually about? I've heard that a lot of songs Ian wrote on this record are about Jeff Nelson because they were not getting along with each other at all. I mean, they broke up this year, but I can't remember exactly which songs. But goddamn, what did you say?
No, this is a song about, he looked into a crystal ball and he was like, there's going to be this thing called the Straight Edge Super 7. And the most edgeman around is not going to take us, and I feel betrayed. And then he wrote this song.
That's right. Clevo, you want to say anything on this, or should I shoot it to Ben for his number 3?
We can go to Ben.
Okay, Ben, number 3.
I'm an outsider outside of everything. I'm going to pick, come on, man, this is a punk rock podcast. I gotta pick a track from the Originators, the Ramones. This is off Subterranean Jungle. It's called Outsider, and I'm almost certain it's a Dee Dee composition. He was like sort of the most genius songwriter of the lot. And like, this is kind of like punk in a nutshell. Like, you just feel completely ostracized and alienated, and you feel like an outsider outside of everything. People always trying to push me around. And I heard Dan grunting. Was this on your list, Dan?
Yeah, this was going to be like my number 5. Yeah. This is the best song on the album. This is the one I was going to choose, and I thought it might just slide under the radar in that, because there's so much core. I thought this might just sneak past people's purview, but hey, it's a hell of a pick.
Well, you got their best 1984 track in the 84 Super 7, so I had to usurp you for 83 and pick this one. And this is a great album that has a lot of great songs, and it's kind of a sleeper album for the Ramones, I feel like and the snare drums, speaking of snare drums, sounds like a trash can lid. Maybe that could have been done a little better, but damn, the songwriting is mostly great on this.
It's a lot of Dee tracks, actually.
That it would explain why it's so good.
Doesn't he do a little vocal part in the middle of this song as well?
Yeah, he sings the bridge, which is the kind of a 53rd and third sort of thing where he sings the bridge of a song he wrote. Man, what a great song.
By the time this podcast comes out, I will have completed my my project of listening to 1,000 punk 7-inches that are pre 1984. And a lot of the stuff, you know, is walking that line of like the power pop or the punk stuff. And so much of it, so many 7-inches like that are pre 84, like, God, they could be so good if they just had like a little bit of edge to them, you know, and like, because a lot of bands, they can write simple rock and roll songs, but they just go a little too bubblegum, and it's like that power pop shit that just falls off the stick into like a shameful fire of bullshit, you know, and like the Ramones just like, they do such a good job of tiptoeing so close to the edge of like that power pop shit. And it's why they're one of the best ever. Like they know how to walk up there, but like they never lose like that little bit of like punk dirtiness and swag, like no matter how clean they get. So this is an absolutely great pick, Ben. We can go to Clevo for his number 3.
This is a tough pick for me. Already it's like tough picks, but I think it's just because there's so much to choose from. But this is definitely a dartboard record that you could throw a dart and whatever it lands on, within reason. It is
which album you're going with then.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Cockspar.
Yeah.
And what am I taking? I'm gonna take We're Coming Back.
Nice.
But
you're a
again,
Scouser. 'Cause you're a Scouser.
but yeah, I mean, within reason, basically any song on this record is definitely worthy of this list. But I just love, you know, we're coming back. You know, so remember out there somewhere you've got a friend, and yes, and you'll never walk alone again. You know, maybe I shouldn't have taken this. No, this is a great song, in spite of that. So, yeah, fucking Cockspar, and you know they still bring it live. And you know it's really, you know, like original, like, you know, just like an original band that's just been around for the entirety of I don't know it's punker than that. So Cockspar, We're Coming Back, Shock Troops LP.
I love it. Let's just keep it rolling, because I've listened to side A of this for so much of my life, and it is like loaded. It's pretty front heavy. Like that side A is like one of the greatest sides of an LP in like the history of guitar rock. It is so good. And, you know, everyone's heard me on this podcast say it a million times. Like, I hate when like punk or hardcore is othered. Like, oh, that's good for a hardcore album, or that's good for a, you know, a punk album. It's like, well, this is some of the best music in the history of the world. And like this side A is like evidence of that, you know? It stands up to like any other guitar rock bands. So I've been listening to the B side a lot recently, and the best song on the B side has got to be "I Got Your Number." I'm taking that.
Which was that was actually what I was going back and forth with.
Sick. Yeah, I love it. I mean, this again, anything off the A side is like, this is a hard one. It's a dartboard record for sure, you know. And Dan will take something here, or he won't be able to return to his homeland. So we'll get to talk it again. Maybe he'll take it next, and we can just have a big old Cockspar talk. But yeah, again, it's like, what can you say? It's like perfectly tuneful. The recording's perfect. You hear everything. It's like crisp, but it's still raw. And then, yeah, just some of the lyrics on this. I got your number. You can fool some people some part of the time. So good, you know. And then I love that line. It's like on the bridge, I think, that tell your lies to anyone but me. Like, oh, so good. So simple, so good. It's like everything is punk, right? Just coming up with like a simple ass line like that like just cuts to the heart of the bullshit. You know, I love it. I love it. It's like one of my favorite songs of all time, on one of my favorite albums of all time.
I love on the refrain when it's like, I got your number. Like that just gets you there. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, I know. It's like there's so many like little things he tucks in. You know, it's so good. Dan, you want to speak on this, or you want to take a Cockspar song next? We can continue this talk.
Yeah, I'm going to. Just one comment on each of your choices. The way that he does, you know, you can feel some people, some part of the, and then he has the time, like the vibrato on time. is
Yeah.
just so good. And then on Clevo's pick, the part where it's like, God, I'm trying to remember the lyrics right now, where it just basically has the cannonball style drum parts. We're fighting to get that,
Yeah.
those parts.
Yeah.
It's so good. Fucking in the Bushes, I frequently play We're Coming Back, and it just gets the dance floor going fucking mental. It's
Dude.
so good. I definitely have seen Goose like moshing on the dance floor of the Whistle Stop. So
Dude, also on I Got Your Number, when he goes, so listen now. Like
oh
going in.
yeah, just all the little ad libs.
Yes, so good.
Now I'm going to choose arguably my favorite Cock Sparrer song, but I would have been happy with either of yours. And I would have been happy with, 4 other songs. But this one has a story that unfolds like a film. You can see it happening. Yeah. And the way it ends, now he's back where he started. He ain't got a pound, queuing with the sorts he used to kick around. Like, it's you sold your soul to be a fucking pig, and now you got kicked out, and now no one will give you the time of day. It's the perfect song. I am in love with Cock Sparrer, especially Shock Troops era. And as Clevo said, they absolutely bring it. The guitars sounding like sirens, the vocals just fluctuating, dancing on the melody, like the smoking, drinking, acting cool till they started treating like a fool. Then he stayed on his own. He like isn't he's not hitting the same thing every single line, and that's the genius of Collins' vocals. Besides the sound and the tunefulness, is that he can really dance over the melody and just make it so infectious and so filled with hooks. Like Cock Sparrer, like all those fucking people who are writing songs in labs for people to be, for Justin Bieber and stuff, they need to listen to Cock Sparrer to be like, this is how you make things catchy.
He knows how to hang back. Like, dude, we know he knows we know he can sing, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to show off all the time.
Yeah.
And he can really get, like, the way he just dances on this verse is like, it's something spectacular.
And the O's,
Yes.
He's in the riot squad. And then just when you see that live and you just see 1,000 people doing that, like, tunefully together, it's a thing of majesty.
This is wild though, because like I think we haven't Take Them All and Where Are They Now are probably like the best songs. It's just like this is one of those. It's dartboard, right? Like it's however you're feeling today. But like those songs are undeniable. And
England Belongs to Me.
Yeah, true. Although is that this year?
That was released as a single, and it's released on this LP this year. So it was a single in '82, though.
Okay. I don't think it's tacked on. I don't think it's put on the album until later.
You're right.
You got bonus track like later. It's not originally on the album.
But it's weird. Like when the album's re-released, it's not like added at the end. It's like added in the middle.
No, I know. Like they still keep Out on Island last, which is respect, dude. Right? You gotta keep your wild song at the end, so we don't have to listen to it if we don't feel like it.
Colonel Bogey's theme.
Also, Where Are They Now? Maybe the original diss track.
Yeah,
one of
them. Talked that.
Yeah, we'll talk that on like another pod sometime about like early diss tracks of like You Changed, You Sold Out, blah blah blah.
Well, is Ben gonna keep it going?
No, Ben's a Cock Sparrer hater. So
what?
But yeah, I think so. Ben, am I correct?
No, actually, we did a Blitz versus Cock Sparrer LP head-to-head episode. I did pick Blitz, but I like a lot of Cock Sparrer songs. In fact, Dan wins the Cock Sparrer contest here because Riot Squad I have on my honorables. That's the standout track for me for this album. Riot Squad by Cock Sparrer better than Riot Squad by Bad Brains, one of the best hardcore bands ever. So That's coming from Bedge's mouth here. And
I will say this though: if you're someone that's not taking Cockspar on your 83 list, do you really want to win that contest that he's judging?
good, understood. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you, the 185 listener, who's going to be the real judge of this.
That's right. But it's like if 81 and I don't take like a Minor Threat song, and then I'm like, oh, out of Clevo, Ben, and Dan, your Minor Threat songs, I like Ben's the most. It's like, no, you don't want my opinion. If I didn't take Minor Threat at 81, like you should just throw me off a bridge.
Yeah,
Okay.
and not taking Cockspar in 1983, and there's still, like Zach said, Take 'Em All is still out there, and you're not taking it.
Oh,
Ben,
I don't like that song.
You're under review. You're under review.
All right. Well, I don't care because you picked the best song on the album, Dan. So I'm going to go with a Bad Brains song. Speaking of Bad Brains, the title track off Rock for Light, which is not spoken about very much. And it's kind of buried in the album. And it's very... God, it's got this great, we don't want no violence, we don't need no war, we just want what's right, some peace and love. It's sort of like it's got this great kind of anthemic unity message, and then it also has these weird like this is something I can't think of anyone else doing. The verse begins, there's one measure of the verse that happens, boom, dead stop, the whole band stops, and then you hear like a ripping like, and then the verse starts again. It's like, who puts a fucking break and a guitar lead in at the end of the first measure of the first verse? It's like, wow, this is like God tier songwriting. And I fell in love with this song through the live album, the Youth Are Getting Restless, because at the time I only had that crappy sped up version of this album, but it's probably the best Bad Brains song that's not on the Roar tape. It might be the best Bad Brains song.
It's their most tuneful song up to this point, and the solo on it is like my favorite. And I love coming out of the solo when he switches from solo to lead and does that little like ding 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 ding. So good. Yeah, this is probably my favorite song on this record too. Yeah. And again, like it's a testament to how much it sucks that like it's sped up, because it's like that mid-tempo banger, you know what I mean? Like you want the tempo they laid it down at.
And then it has this kind of amazing melodic singy part ending the song, taking the song out. It's like, we go rough life. And he only does it 3 times, and the song just ends abruptly. Like, wow, who does that?
I know. This song is out of this world. Like, oh God, I love it. This is so good. It was on my list. Yeah, Clevo, you want to speak on this?
Yeah, that part, Ben, where it's like, we don't want no war. No, the no's that they added in the middle. That's what makes that part. It's like it's so anthemic. We kind of talked about this. When I said like I felt like Agnostic Front Hiding Inside is like an Agnostic Front deep cut. Like if there's such a thing, this is like a Bad Brains deep cut where it's like it's on classic record. And it really just doesn't get a lot of shine, and it stands up to everything else on that record. However you feel about the Bad Brains reggae songs, like if you just look at their hardcore songs, they're like, it's very, they don't have clunkers.
No, they don't. It's insane. It's so good. I love that you picked this, Ben. I would have liked it preferably, but hey, what can you do? The other thing I want to say, just if we're not going to talk Bad Brains again, is shout out to Joshua's song. Like, I think I talked about like 7 seconds on the 84. Like, just to have that like short, straight, fast blazer is like so crucial, and like that song is like 30 seconds, just like a fast blazer. Love it so much. And then also I love the pinch harmonics on the Destroy Babylon verse. So that was up there with Rock for Light for me. But yeah, Clevo, let's go to you for your number 4.
So, I'm going to have to take something from Boston so they don't run me out of town. So I'm going to go with the premier Boston Straight Edge Band, SSD, and I'm going to take Glue.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, I'm going to take Glue. Again, there's so much to choose from on this record that's only got like 6 or 7 songs. There's so much to choose from here. But yeah, Glue is just really the, it is the SSD song. Yeah, it's, these songs, when you look at them, the format of the songs is always like really weird, like just kind of like the tempos, how they play them, like just sort of like the timings and stuff. They're kind of all over the place. So they're kind of, the songs are like always like just kind of on Get It Away. The songs are just like a little off kilter, like when you listen to them closely, but it's just, it kicks in and that riff is just so big, and it's just there to get like people into it. Gotta stick together, like very simple lyrics. Anyone in the crowd can sing along, and people should just be piling on top of each other to get to the mic for this one.
Yeah, I wish a band covered this every show. It's just like one of those blueprint hardcore songs that's like absolutely perfect. And he sounds so unhinged when he's singing it. And I'll go right into mine. We can talk both. I'll take Get It Away.
It's going to be my next pick.
Well, it's too bad that you didn't pull number 1, Could have had it there. But yeah.
I'm going to no-sell that.
It's like if you're like a 13-year-old wild man, it's like the song that you would write with your mouth. You know what I mean? Like that riff is just so perfect. And then when it kicks into like the mid-tempo of the verses and they do that, like that other guitars doing the bends, it's just like one of the most out of this world musical moments like in the history of man. Like what the fuck is going on? It's so perfect, unhinged, out of control, but yet like so skillful. It's like just the best of punk and hardcore. So out of this world. And Springa's voice, like, I want to do a whole episode on this record one day. So I won't say that he's embarrassed himself in recent years. I will just say, he did a great job on this record, and when you have a piece of art like this with your name attached to it, there's always room for redemption, and that redemption comes through doing a full episode on Get It Away on the 185 Mile South podcast. What's up, Springa? Dan, what do you got on this?
SSD just don't make sense in the best possible way. It's like a runaway train. Like they start out like the train's leaving the station normally, and then it just falls off a cliff. Do you know what I mean? Like the bass to Get It Away starts out and, there's a vibe there, there's melody, and then it just goes wild, like so wild. It's crazy that something so wild was like the premier band from that city. Do you know what I mean? I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I was going to choose this next,
Yeah, and it's like also like something so wild, like not being fast, right? Like usually you think about like, the Bad Brains when they're like playing at their like top speed, like that's like as wild as it gets. But it's like, well, here's a band doing like a bunch of different like mid tempos that sounds like just as wild,
or even more wild, really, because it's just unhinged.
Yeah, and a lot of it's the voice, right?
Yeah,
because like the voice is something amazing on top of it. Ben, what did you want to say on this?
It's heavy without being heavy metal. It's sort of like, I think Black Flag touched on being heavy without being heavy metal, but this is just like more out of control than Black Flag ever was, and it's and noisier than they ever were. I mean, they added a second guitarist for this record, I'm certain, because Black Flag added a second guitarist, and then you get every other band, Minor Threat, you name it, adding a second guitarist following suit. But like, if you listen to the first SSD LP, Kids Will Have Their Say, most of it is really fast, and this is not fast, but this is the one everyone loves. This is sort of the peak of, and then it falls off the stick with the next two records because it does become heavy metal and it becomes like kind of bad heavy metal. So this is just like heavy, hardcore. That's just like makes you want to break furniture. That's the best thing that hardcore could make you feel like doing, right? That's like I actually had Forced Down Your Throat as a possible. So it's not even like there's just like one great song on this record. There's lots
No,
to pick
this whole
from.
thing. This is like one of those records that like sometimes I just like get the urge and I have to listen to it. And like I'll be like in a weird spot. Like one time I was driving home from Texas with like AH and we were like, dude, we gotta listen to Get Her Away right now. You know, and we're in like a Penske in like New Mexico. You know, so like we pulled it up on YouTube and just like listened to it on the dash. You know what I mean? Like while we're driving, like that, just a shitty phone thing. You know, because it's like I gotta listen to it sometimes. Like this is one of those records where like if you pulled it away and I was never able to listen to it again, like my life would be significantly worse. You know, I don't know. Clevo, you want to speak on this at all?
I mean, yeah, I love how it's just like that quasi like reggae bass beat, and then it just like launches. It just launches into the song, and then like Spring is just like all over the place. I mean, really, if you want to have a wild man on vocals, you definitely want to go out and get someone who'll wear a full baseball uniform with stirrups on stage. Like that really just shows you how wild that guy is. Yeah. Yeah, this record, like I think we've all said, like on paper, it just doesn't make sense. But I think that's what's good about it. One of the things that I've always contended with like early hardcore, instead of like the people who came in the late 80s and then like, you know, the people who came after the people in the late 80s, it's like the people who came later had like a blueprint to play from with like DYS and SSD. But like when you look at from, you know, Kids to Get It Away, is like, you know, it's just like a bunch of dudes who like, well, Al, who like listened to like Ted Nugent and AC/DC and Cheap Trick and just decided to like play faster. And, you know, he gets more nuance as like he learns how to play his guitar as he goes along, where you get like there, he doesn't know the rules, so he can like, he just breaks them, you know, like, and he just is like, he's just playing what sounds good to him.
Yeah, like what is like the final sequence on this? Like da 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 da. It's got to be some like classic rock shit that he's just speeding up.
And that minor part that you just hit, like just at the very end of that, it just makes it, doesn't it? That where it switches to that kind of minor sound. It's so good.
But plus with like Springer just like howling over it too, you know. Like,
oh god, it's so good. Dan, number 5.
Well, since the two that I would have chosen off of this are gone, I'm gonna just let it lay. And Ben's right, Force Down Your Throat, like edge anth, but it's not. Doesn't sound anthemic. It's just the most pissed, like crazy, deranged edge jam. But I'm gonna leave it because there's just too much to get going. So I am gonna choose. You know, I love a bit of melody mixed with NYHC being absolutely incredible, and the guitar sound kind of like, you know, even though Reagan Youth officially comes out the next year, but it's got a lot of that similar sound. I'm going Something Must Be Done, Antidote.
It's insane. It's insane that it took to round 5 for this.
Yeah, seriously. But that's 83 for you.
Yep.
83, dude.
The tone on the guitar and the actual riff, good God. Good God.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. And the way that the gallopy drums and just everything about it, it just gets its hooks into you. Now and his voice is so pissed, but so tuneful on this song. Like, really pissed, but really tuneful, catchy. This is the one that stands out, even though the rest of the 7-inch also is, you know, I know you hate the term, but God tier. This just rises to the top just a little bit, and the catchiness and the melody, that's something that always just sticks to my ribs. Like, out of all of these old core songs, if you hit me with just some underlying, well, there's not even underlying catchiness on this, it's just straight up catchy, but that's the kind of stuff that like just puts stuff over the top from the most brutal sounding stuff, which I love also. But this song, it's incredible. Something must be done. So good.
Dude, and also when they tuck in that little like Peter Gunn riff.
Mhm.
Is that like the riff that like the Creepy Crawl was like invented to? You know, it just seems like you just want to get low.
Yeah, and the little tremolo-y, like, or, you know, like clicking on the guitar switch on this too, like with the harmonic like tapping. Oh god, it's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be on the playlist, or we should get run out of town for sure. Clevo, you want to say anything about this, or should I send it to Ben for his number 5?
No, you know, the other thing is, you know, like, you know, how much Capo took from this for his vocals.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about Antidote, but like, yeah, this is, you know, speaking of, you know, how much Capo took from this for vocals, but, you know, the Redemption A7 cover, Eric O's vocals just fit perfectly for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, oh man, his just like, there's just like such an urgency in his voice. Like, you know, like just the way when the verses kick in and like when he sings fast, it just sounds like he's just like on the edge of losing it. Yeah, there's just so much good stuff from this year.
Yeah, it's wild that he can snarl that hard, but it's still so audible.
Yeah.
Everything he says is wild. The other thing is like this might be the prime example of an early 80s recording, like where the recording is like the fifth member. Like this thing is insane. Like if you think about a song like Real Deal, like think about how simple that song is, you know, and like if a band wrote that song in like 95 on like, you know, your average like 95 recording, like you would just kind of get it, it's just like kind of whatever. Like there's not even a riff. It's just da 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 da. But like the drumming is really good. The tone is really good. The recording is perfect. The singing like dances over the top of it. And it's like you can just have a song like that that's like a 9 out of 10 song, you know, with like no riff. Like there's no riff, dude. What the fuck? It's just like it sounds so dope that like it works. So yeah, it's wild. Okay, Ben, number 5.
By the way, Something Must Be Done was a possible of mine, so it was quite likely I would have picked it. But yeah, you picked the one. That was it. And 185 listeners, go back and check out. We did an episode of what records are better than the Antidote 7-inch, and there weren't that many in the grand scheme of things. We didn't have that many records that we thought were better. But some of them did come out in 1983. For my number 5, I'm going to go, let's see. I was in California for a couple picks. Then I went to the East Coast for a couple picks. And now I'm going to have to fly back to California to Fullerton. And I'm going to go with Social Distortion, Another State of Mind, the theme song for an excellent documentary that we got to watch 59 minutes of once. There's a story behind that, but it's kind of inside baseball.
No, that will have aired by now, so you're good. Patrons, I hope we also made that up to you. Oh, Jesus.
But
yeah.
It's sort of like a combination of missing your girlfriend while you're on the road, and also you're a heroin addict. That's the vibe I get from reading the lyrics. But it's just this great melodic punk song by a great punk songwriter, Mike Ness. I mean, you know, like he's very easy to make fun of. He's very fun to make fun of. but he wrote Another State of Mind and you didn't. So damn, he's got one on all of us, doesn't he? This is from Mommy's Little Monster, their first album, and I think like there's certain bands that they kind of like, they're almost like intentionally chipping away at their own legacy, and then you go back and you listen to why anyone cared about them in the first place, aka their first album, and you're like, oh, that's why we talk about this dude in the first place, because this shit is so incredible. So man, I mean, what else is there to say about this one?
Well, I'm going to argue for Mike Ness, even though he wrote "Sick Boy," which is one of the worst songs of all time.
Well, there you go.
I think it's unfair to say that he's chipping away at like his legacy. It's like, didn't he do like 7 sold out shows in Orange County a few years ago, like in a week? Like his legacy is like cemented. In fact, like it's, I don't know, the later records is what most people like more, and he delivers all the time. Plus, like, I don't think they've embarrassed themselves. Like they haven't put out a record in like 12 years, so it's not like he's putting out bullshit. Like I think they're just playing and delivering the classics that their fans want to hear, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? How do you think that they're embarrassing themselves, Ben?
But because if you listen to Mommy's Little Monster, the album, then listen to followed immediately back to back with Hard Times and Nursery Rhymes, the album, and tell me which one's better. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, they're not chipping away at their legacy at like, you know, their fucking base level fans, but like for us in this room here, this hardcore kids, whatever, punk rock kids who are down for the real shit. It's like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah,
early Social D over everything else.
I actually think that Social D is a better rock band than punk band.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't.
Stuff. I mean,
I don't like I definitely have a limit. Like I think white light, white heat, white trash, whatever the hell that record's called. I think that's where I'm done. So it's really just sort of like Prison Bound to like white light, white heat is that's where it's at. I respect the punk stuff, but I listen to Prison Bound and White Light way more.
I mean, I like stuff off all those records. I like stuff off those records too, but I mean, for me, it's the early singles, the Posh Boy stuff, the first album is the meat of the band.
I just think you're doing a really lazy thing, which is like holding a band's fans against the band, you know, which is like why, you know, some people don't like Pennywise and stuff. Like it's undeniable how good like the first 2 Pennywise records are. You know, if you like fast hardcore, you know, why wouldn't you like at least the first Pennywise record? Like it's so fucking good. But like I get it, like people don't like bros, right? Or they associate it with like bro culture. So that's fine. But like it's a lazy mentality of like holding a band's fans against the band and the music.
But they wrote Sick Boy.
But
I know.
I'm speaking to the type of person that would hold this band's fans against this band and ignore the fact that they wrote brilliant songs like Another State of Mind. I mean, we're in round 5. I'm the only one who's picked this band so far. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm writing for this shit.
You haven't picked Minor Threat yet, so don't get at me, fool.
Well, there's a strategy behind that.
No, I know. So you can take anything off the record. I get it. Okay, Clevo, number 5.
Man, this is so hard because now we're like already in heartbreak rounds. I am going to take, because I want to talk about this band, and I'm going to take the Effigies with Weird Da Machine. Effigies are a band that, you know, I think really flies under the radar, and I think that they're another band that suffers from their reissues being reissued too early. They have a lot of early 80s singles and EPs, and the reissue record comes out in the late 80s that combined all of the early EPs. So I think that when your compilation record of your early EPs becomes collector core, it's kind of hard to really break through, even though all the stuff's streaming. So yeah, Effigies, Weird Da Machine. You know, They're a weird band in that they don't play just straightforward hardcore. They have a little bit of a post punk feel. Some of the songs I think even have like I would go so far as to say a bit of a Killing Joke influence. But yeah, this is a good, just like a straightforward song. It's very Midwestern, very talking about like the political machine of Chicago, and really just I feel like part of me feels like everyone knows about this band, and part of me feels like no one knows about this band. So if you haven't checked them out before, definitely check them out on the EP. And if you have checked them out before, I think it's a band that probably should get more props than they get.
They should, because like when they're at their best, like all that Chicago shit, it's like some of the best stuff in the world, but it's like not all that good, right? It's like,
so I would say that the first 4 singles and EPs, and I like the first LP. The first LP definitely has a bit of that post punk. I think it's kind of lazy to say like Gang of Four influence, because it's a little angular. I think it's more Killing Joke. And they do, even on their first single, they get into a little bit of sampling and a little like, it gets a little funky and even a little dancey on it. But yeah, I think that if you stick with the singles, it really is like top quality stuff.
Haunted Town is like all time.
Haunted Town is 100%, which when we do whatever year that came out, that's
81.
That's going to be top of the list. Body Bag, Haunted Town. Their records are their singles and EPs are great.
Yeah, I love talking this band because Haunted Town is all time. Like the record plus that song just as a standout of like, God, a perfect like mid-tempo song with like that slight dark melody. And yeah, Body Bag has it too. Security kind of gets like a little weird, like you said. It's a little long, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. This record is good. I think that it's like less melodic. Which is they're starting to like lose a little bit of melody on this one.
Yeah. But
And
this one, like it kicks in with the bass, where it's like it's got that nice bass riff in the beginning, and then it's like the we're the machine, and I love at the end of the song in the refrain when it's like we're the machine, who's the machine, we're the machine, who's the machine, when it's like the call and response.
Yeah, I like this. This band is so disappointing to me sometimes, because like when I listen to Haunted Town, I'm like, I want this to be my favorite band. And then like, I just think it gets a little worse every release. And like, this is like the 3rd release, and it's like, oh, it's their 3rd best release. I think that No Progress song is my favorite on this.
Yeah. I mean, this whole record's good.
It's good. It's one of those things. Like if you look at it by itself, it's very good, and I don't mean to be like discounting it. It's just what came before it is like, good God, man. It's like one of my favorite things of all time. So yeah. Ben, do you want to speak on this?
They never struck a chord with me. I mean, they're fine. I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Dan, do you want to say, you should listen to Haunted Town, Ben?
I mean, I've heard it. I've heard the stuff. Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard their all the early stuff.
Well, you heard it once. You might want to revisit it, dude.
Okay,
I'll don't know everything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dan, you want to speak on this at all, or should I take my number 6?
Go ahead, take your number 6. I will follow your advice, and I will jump into this stuff because it is a bit of a blind spot for me, to be admittedly so.
Yeah, right on. Okay, I want to talk Poison Idea. This is another dartboard record for the year. This thing kicks so much ass. And I alluded before that I'm like doing this project where I'm listening to like 1,000 punk and hardcore 7 inches that came out before 1984. Because it's so interesting to me, because like basically by the time 84 rolls around, like hardcore is broken wide open, and there's so many bad generic hardcore bands. Like, look no further than like, you know, many Mystic compilations. Like, you know, there'll be 40 bands on there and like 35 of them suck. You know, it's wild. But like when you go 83 and before, like hardcore is actually like, there aren't that many bands. Like the bands that you guys have heard of, even if you haven't heard them, like if you've heard the name, like they're probably pretty good. And that's, it's a little confusing to me too. Like, I don't know, like maybe Minor Threat like lit a fire, you know, in that like immediate area, but like it didn't really spark huge like out elsewhere or whatever. Cause like, you know, 82, 83, like it's a little limited, but this record I think sets off a big fire and is very influential. Talking about Pick Your King by Poison Idea. The song I'm going to take is Cult Band. I just think it's like one of the most angry sounding songs ever. And again, it's like one of those things where the music and the playing is so tight, but there's like an unhinged element. It's like almost like an athlete, right? Where you're like pushing yourself to like peak performance. Like you've prepared your body to like perform, but now it's like the NBA finals and like, you gotta go for it. You know what I mean? Like you're Kobe playing every minute, you know, cause like that's what you're there to do. And it's like, these dudes are so talented. They're so tight, but it's like, okay, let's push it. Let's like straight up take it to 11. And it's wild. Like I encourage everyone, like I know most people have heard this record, but like listen to it and read along with the lyrics. It's wild how this guy like lays it down. Like it is insane. Lyrically, he's so good, dude. And like his delivery, it's like, it's one of those things, like I know we gag on Rick DeLife on the pod sometimes, but he has one of my favorite like lines ever on the New York Hardcore documentary when someone's like, what do you say to people when they say, you know, they can't understand what you're saying? And he's like, well, there's a lyric sheet for that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like being a great singer, there's two elements to it, right? There's laying down something that sounds dope, and there's also writing good lyrics. And the best can do both, right? And you don't have to like limit your lyrics because you need something else to sound dope. It's like write a good like poem and then just fit your shit. And if like you don't say some words, whatever, who cares? If you say some extra words or you do a little extra huffing and puffing, whatever, just make it dope. You know, and like this is a wild one. I encourage everyone to like listen to the song and read along to lyrics. Because it's wild that he fits it all in. And it just feels like it's gonna fall apart, but it doesn't. And it's one of the greatest hardcore records of all time. You know, and I feel like it's kind of another world sometimes. You know, like a lot of people like they either like the DC stuff or they like this stuff. And God, I love it both. I think everyone should like open their mind a little bit. Yeah, Clevo, what do you think about this?
This was actually the song that I had on my list from this record. I love like the, you know, Cult Band go, and it's just like, bah, bah, like I don't mean it in a bad way, but this record, you know, it's what 10 songs.
It's like 13 songs.
13 songs. You know, short and sweet. The record itself is kind of a little samey. It's like not completely, but a lot of like the fast riffs are just like, cause it's just like so buzzsawy and so fast. And I don't mean that in a bad way because it's so good, because it's like, it's a buzzsaw, but it's still like really tight. It's really well played. They do like, lyrically, it is good. I would also say that it's taken me forever to read it because I don't usually read. I usually read on my Kindle, but I have the 3-book set of Jerry A's like autobiography and memoir, and I'm about halfway through or about a little more than halfway through the first book. And man, that dude's fucked up childhood definitely went into a lot of what he sings about. So if you have any interest in Poison Idea, check it out. Jerry A. Lang. It's a 3-volume set, and they're not thick volumes. I don't know why they just didn't make it 1 book, but they're out there. If you have any interest in that, everyone should check that out.
Hell yeah. Dan, let's go to you. Number 6.
I really like what you just said in regards to yeah, you might be completely familiar with this record. Lots of the things that we talk about here, like it's really, we can't divorce ourselves from hearing these for years and years, but sometimes just taking that exercise of like, listen to this like you're listening to it for the first time and just give it, some new eyes and ears to it. And sometimes you might just be able to pull like even more out of it,
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I did that with Rock for Light, right? I've like brushed off that record for like most of my life, just like as a Roar guy.
Yeah.
It's like you get most of the songs on Roar, but for this, I was like, I'm gonna at least isolate like the songs that aren't on Roar and like listen to them. And it's like, man, I'm a fucking moron, like some of the greatest songs in the history of like hardcore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I'm glad I did that exercise for 83 because like they're not falling off any of my. I mean, I got to listen to them on my phone. I can't listen to them on Spotify, right? Like they're in my iTunes or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, and plus you love the Cars.
Yeah. Well, he's the one that. Oh yeah. Someone else ruined it in '90. I can't remember who remixed it, but anyway. Yeah, Dan, number 6.
This is so crazy that number 6 is already here. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, there's so much to get on. I'm now at the point where I'm like, I hope someone else takes this so it's on the playlist and I'm, it's not just left off. So I'm going to take something that I don't know if anyone else would take, that I just love so much. So much. 3/4 of the world are starving. The rest are dead. I'm going 1/4 dead, Rudimentary Peni. The way that this song starts with the ominous bass and then it comes in, 3/4 of the world are starving, 3/4 and then the vocals are so cool on this first part. He goes, the rest are dead, the rest are dead. Like he hits the 2 different tones on that, and then it just repeats, but it gets faster and faster. So it goes into this like, it's all on the same riff and it just gets faster and faster and a bit more intense. And it's just like a manifesto about how fucked the world is in this time. There's so much easy to look back at like early 80s punk and hardcore and like take it for granted with what the lyrical topics and that it all just seems very punk. But this is like in the height of the Cold War where like nuclear threat and stuff is right on the door. So like Death Church, like this album is just so good and, could easily tap into a Subhumans, evolution or, God, there's just so much, but this song it's just such a stomping, like perfect crust manifesto, like, and the fact that it speeds up and gets a bit more manic, it really just drives it. I love this so much.
Dude, when I'm hanging out in a psycho squat and someone says they don't like Rudimentary Peni, I say poppycock. Ben, you got anything on this?
Then you tell them that you're going to nuke the house.
That's right.
They're one of those bands where I recognize the brilliance and I own the records, but I very, very, very seldomly listen to them. So this is inspiration for going back and listening to them more. I heard this band when I was really, really young, and it was like one of those things where I hadn't heard anything this crazy before. I wish I remembered the name of the song I heard. Like a neighborhood kid had the tape and he played it, and it was like they were all into like Poison and Motley Crue and shit, and they were making fun of it. And I'm like, but wait, this is really good. And they're like, this is stupid. I'm like, no, this is really good. So
that was the moment that Ben decided to be a contrarian. for Rudimentary Peni against Poison. Respect. Yeah, I'm a poser on this band. I listened to the first record. That's pretty much it. Like Death Church, again, I got to take my own advice on and revisit things I've written off. I've always just listened to that first EP and liked it a lot, and then thought Death Church was like too long, so I never really fucked with it. But I'll go back. This is the first song off it, right, Dan?
Yeah, this is track 1, so it goes to the 185 mantra of, hey, if you're going to pick one, go with track 1.
Yeah, it gives you the feeling for the whole record.
And
Respect.
it sounds like Richard
Yeah.
hung himself. It's very similar to Richard hung himself.
It is.
Riff-wise, yeah.
It does feel like that. Okay. Let's see. Ben, go ahead.
Wait, I wanted to get in on this too.
Do it, Clevo.
I love this record. I definitely had this on my list. You know, it's also the total package. Like, you know, Nick Blinko obviously is you know, it's just mentally just all over the place, and you can see it from the artwork. But like, I had a couple other tracks on here too, like Rotten to the Core, which I think is like, you know, calling like punks, calling like Joe Strummer or calling just punks like posers and rock stars and stuff. You know, Vampire State Building and what is it? When the song Martian Church, when it's like, when you are Martian Church, it's like, ugh, like the way he like groans in that. But the other thing I wanted to say is they put out a record 2 years ago that is also really good, and it's all about World War One. The record's called Great War. So they're still putting music out that you know is pretty damn good. So definitely,
Martian Church is where I first heard the word banality.
yeah. There's this band is definitely something to dive into if you haven't. And I know for some people, you know, depending on you know what your philosophy on, you know, punk and hardcore and what you're into, you know, the artwork may be a little off-putting. But definitely dig into this. This is something that I came to later, and like I got into way later, and I'm glad that I did check it out.
Joe gets it from Cockspar and Rudimentary Peni. Isn't that a bummer? Poor Joe. Okay, let's go to, let me see. I moved away from my spreadsheet. We're going to Ben for number 6.
All right. Number 6 is my heartbreaker round. I can explain when we get to round 7. My brain is telling me pick Husker Du, but my heart is telling me to pick the band Scream. The song is Came Without Warning. It's the first song off their first album, Still Screaming, on Discord Records. I think this is the first LP on Discord where it's not a split LP. It's just one band's LP. God, I hope I'm right about that. I think I am. It's just like, I remember getting into this. I was already a freshman in college, and my friend played it for me at Headline Records, and he's all, "You like Minor Threat, right? Come on, listen to this." And I'm like, damn, this is like Minor Threat meets The Damned. It's like mash 2 god tier punk bands together, and you get like another god tier punk band. It's got this great, listen to Kent Stax's Right Foot, very good drumming in the intro, and then just blasts into like fast hardcore. I love it when people who are like very good musicians are like, fuck it, we're not above playing extremely fast 4-chord hardcore. We're not above that shit. We're just going to do it really well. You know, like Bad Brains, for example. This is another one of those bands. It's just, and the recording is so good too. Like Discord shit, almost all of it's recorded by Donzi and Tara at Inner Ear Studios. A lot of it's produced by Ian, but it's really hit and miss. And I don't know why. It's like they didn't change any of the variables, but this is a very good recording. And it's one of those albums where it's like, you look at the track list and you're like, it's like 18 or 20 songs, and you're like, God, this is going to lose me at some point. And it just doesn't. It's unrelenting. But this is the song that kicks it off.
Yeah, great pick. It's like tasteful feedback, right? Like it's like 3 seconds. They don't punish you, you know, and then just kicks in fast. So good. Great recording too. It's like one of the best for like this old sound. It's so bright, but like it still has that like old feel. Dan, you want to speak on this, or should I send it to Clevo?
Go ahead, send it to Clevo. It's another blind spot for me where it's something I checked out many, many, many years ago and never really went back that much, and it gets talked about a lot when we talk about this stuff. So I do need to do some due diligence, and awesome, it's going to be on the playlist, so it can be my gate into it.
There you go. Clevo, you want to speak on this, or you want to take your number 6?
This is kind of a band that also kind of always flew under the radar for me too, but this song I think was on the American Hardcore soundtrack. And I know, but like, you see the movie and like the soundtrack, and because there was some other stuff on there that maybe, just some other just sort of under the radar for me. So I'm familiar with the song, but, again, like Scream is just kind of a band that I heard probably once or twice, and it didn't really move me then. And I just never really went back to it. So, it's time for me to probably go back to it.
Did you buy that soundtrack from the human Oscar the Grouch, aka someone who has been put in a trash can selling his stuff from it?
No, I probably downloaded it off of like some sort of streaming service or BitTorrent.
I know. I'm just referencing the fact that Zach should have picked him up and put him in a trash can.
True. He I think he still has like a streaming thing. He did a thing like 24 hours of hardcore. And like, I don't know how he's legally allowed to do it, but like, respect. There's like 24 hours of hardcore. Like, he chose like, I don't know, 500 songs or something, and there's like a streaming player, and you can check it out. Like, it's a pretty sick resource, because pre 86, the dude has pretty good taste. Although he's, as they say in Dan's homeland, a total fucking wanker. So, all right. Clevo, number 6.
I'm going to stick with Discord. Finally can go to the Minor Threat well, and I'm going to take Think Again. I love, lyrically, Ian seems, he's mad at himself. And there's just things on here that I really love. Like, it's got the total Ian, like, you're an adult, so you act like a child. Like, you can just see Ian like scolding someone with that one. And stupid shit, it's been done. You think you're the only one. Minor Threat is, again, a band that we've talked about, and I just don't know what else we can say about them. But really, we don't do many years that Minor Threat put records out. So really just like, adding them to the list because they're just such a vital band.
Yeah, it would feel not proper to not have like a song on your list, so people look at it and they're like, what? No Minor Threat?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that feels. Dan, how would that feel?
It haunts you.
Do you want to say anything about this?
I would say it follows you.
That's right. I think we're going to get to talk Minor Threat one more time in round 7 when Ben takes them, obviously. So I will take my number 7, Heartbreak Round. Oh, I'm going to take some off the Aggression LP, and it's hard to narrow it down. But I'm just going to go SATC because it is a classic punk song. And I love like some of the mentality, like about like being at a show and raging with your friends and like whatever. Like, it can be wild on the inside and like, it's our thing, right? But you don't want it to like spill outside because you don't want shit to get shut down. And it's like rage inside, but like don't tear up the club and don't like act like a hard ass by like throwing bottles and shit. Like, if you want to like be hard, you can like go in the pit. You know what I mean? And I love it. I love songs from punk and hardcore bands about punk and hardcore, that like look inward. I don't think we always have to try to be like singing about giant topics. Like, if hardcore is a big part of your life, like sing about that too, And it's pretty sick. Police have the power to stop our gigs. Can't you see the Thrashers encourage the pigs? So sick, dude. Throw them in the pit if they think they're tough. I'm telling you this for the future of us. God, so good. And just a perfect like mid-tempo banger, like SATC slamming at the club. So sick, unfuckable, and Aggression, 1983 Nardcore. What's up, Ben? What do you think about this?
Best Nardcore band ever. Great pick. Interesting. You're very in tune with song structure, Zach, and this is definitely a song with an A part, a B part, and a C part that repeats. And I couldn't tell you what's the verse, what's the chorus, and what's the third part. Is that a pre-chorus? Is that like how Have you ever sussed it out, Zach? Have you figured that out?
No,
First part.
it's kind of a hard song to follow in that way. Like I sang it when when Mark Hickey died, there was a big benefit show at Ventura Theater, and Burning Dog played, and Joe let me sing the song with Henry playing guitar. It was so ill, and I just like it's like one of those songs that you feel like you know it because you've heard it so many times, but then like when you're gonna sing it, you're like, man, actually, like this is like sometimes like this part goes and sometimes it doesn't. Like it is an interesting structure. And I was just like, God, I gotta not fuck this up. And I listened to it like 20 times before I sang it, like in my car. You know what I mean? Just because it's one of those things that you feel like you know it, but yeah, there is a little bit of intricacy to it. So yeah, I feel you. That's a good call out. Clevo, you want to say anything on this, or should I shoot it to Dan for his number 7?
You can shoot us to Dan.
All right, Dan, Heartbreaker round. What do you got?
So you go in aggression over ill repute.
Yeah, the Ill Repute recording is just so bad. Like Sleepwalking is on it, which is like an all-time song, but the recording on the 7-inch is like it's one of the worst recordings in the history of the world.
So then when What Happens Next comes the next year, that's when you champion it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I still like the 7-inch. I listen to it. It's just one of those things, like, it needs to be played on a record player with, like, you know, the whole acoustics of a room. It's not something I'm going to listen to, like, with headphones on or, like, you know, in my car. Like, it's a really offensive sounding record, you know, like, in a bad way, in my opinion. And it breaks my heart to say that, because I think that there's, like, songs on there that are great. But yeah, like, that's why I'm not choosing it, but will be on my honorable mentions.
Yeah. So this is truly Heartbreaker because, I mean,
Get on the mic, Dan.
This is sorry. I turned my head away because my heart is breaking. The fact that I don't think, even though it's there right now, and I don't think I'm going to take it. So hopefully Clevo does, or Ben does, because so they can be on the playlist, is United Blood, the title track, you know. But
yeah.
I have to be true to myself, and I'm going to take Arms Race by the Partisans. I mean, this song is so good. It starts out, the guitar tone is so good, and it has like the fast, like amazing, like punk style for this, like punk oi-ish, like fast. Oops, sorry, my headphones are going off. Verse delivery, but then the chorus is so good with the lyrics of, it goes into the really tuneful, like things. And then this is going back to what I was talking about nuclear war being on the verge of potentially breaking out around these times. And this is something like dealing with it lyrically. I don't know. Are you all familiar with this song?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. It's good. It's good. In '83, it's not making my list.
No,
but yeah, dude, the verses sound so British. Like, respect for taking it. You know?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. The way that the verses go, like no, where's a god? Like, but then the joining the arms race seems a lot of fun. You know, like it switches up, like, so it's like ba da 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 da, and then it goes to that very tuneful oi-esque chorus.
I'd say it goes like anthemic. It's like more anthemic than it is like tuneful. I mean, I guess it is tuneful. It just doesn't have like that super feel good, like kind of poppy chorus like Blitz and Cockspar give me. It's more anthemic than that. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's also dealing with probably a little bit, you know, it's being a bit sarcastic, but it's like, fingers on the button, no need to use a gun. And you could just imagine tons of people singing along to it. Right. I don't know. I really love it. I'm being true to myself. I could have, just because '84 gives us Victim in Pain. If we didn't have that around the corner on the next year, obviously United Blood. Like if it ended after United Blood, like I'd
Yes.
have to have that.
No, I think this is a great pick. I think it's sick. You know, we talk about, or I talked about like the Ramones, like really walking that line of like punk and power pop, and like this really walks like that oi street punk line. And I mean, obviously they are what they are, right? But like as far as just like musical, it goes a little more on the street side to me.
Yeah.
You know,
But it's like it's like the emergence of it. You know?
no, for sure. It's so early. It's 83, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking A. It's so sick. I love this pick. And yeah, 100% true to you. Clevo, you want to speak on this at all, or should I shoot it to Ben for his minor threat pick?
No, this is going to be something new for me.
Sick. Okay, Ben, what is your minor threat song?
Well, first, I got to talk about the guitar intro on that Partisans record. I don't know if that's a phaser or a flanger, but that motherfucker's turned to 10. My God.
Absolutely. I think it's phase.
Yeah, I think you're
I
right.
apologize to anyone listening with their headphones.
I bought that because of Dan. Anyway, good record. I don't even think it made my honorables, but you know what's making my number 7 pick? Dan got side A, track 1 from Out of Step.
You're going Look Back and Laugh, obviously.
Zach got side A, track 2. Clevo got side A, track 3. And I've got to round out the entire first side of Minor Threat Out of Step with Look Back and Laugh. There you go. Motherfuckers, quick to kiss, talk your shit, don't fuck with this. Man, what a great stanza of swear words. This is kind of like one of the more emotional Minor Threat songs. I interpret it as like Ian's kind of sees the writing on the wall, and like these guys are not getting together, not getting along with each other. So it's sort of like one day we'll look back at, you know, us fighting with each other and we'll laugh about it. Because we're heading in separate directions, and who can't relate to that? Who hasn't had a friend group and that they you know, headed off into different directions in life? Sort of kind of the template for what I love so much about Turning Point, you know, that sort of vibe. This might be my favorite song on this record. It's so hard to really narrow it down to one song though, just because it's so great all the way through. But this is almost like, this is definitely the most epic, in my eyes, is a very epic Minor Threat song, but this is an epic one too.
The riff.
Yeah.
The riff.
Yeah. Great riff. So that's it. Damn. That's it. We got Minor Threat complete.
Yeah. Dan, what version do you have? You know, off the top of your head?
I've got this is one of those records that I have all of them except for that random $8 one. The Pay No More Than $8. That's the one that I still need.
7th press.
Yeah, that's the only one I need. I've got first press of this twice, and then I've got the UK, the Deutschmarks, I mean, Clevo's got them all too. I know he does.
No, I have a first press and only. That's all I got.
Wow.
I've kind of limited myself. I buy original pressings, and I try not to have multiples of a lot of our records.
Respect. I think I'm 5th press only. So, yeah, that's that.
When you guys say first press, you mean that the back cover is completely black, or do you mean?
Yeah, black back.
Okay.
And it has the whistling at the end of what do you call it? The mix. It's got the original mix. It's now, I think that's the mix that's now streaming. But they changed the mix on the later ones.
The one with the violins at the end. It's like an entire
tuning.
Yeah.
The orchestra tuning. It's not on the first press. It's on everything else.
Oh. Okay.
But there's whistling at the end of I think it's at the end of It Follows Me. He's like,
yeah, that's on the CD. The whistling.
Oh, maybe that's not on the first press.
The orchestra is not on the CD.
Anyway, okay, Clevo, let's go to you for your heartbreak pick, and then we'll speed through because we're at 2 hours already.
Man, this is a heartbreak pick, but I this is another band I want to talk about. So I'm going to go Cause for Alarm, In Search Of.
Nice.
I love the song. I've said before, I think this is the original band we talked about flying under the radar because it was reissued too early. Because Victory reissued this 7-inch in the 90s on CD, and for some reason, I feel like despite being on Victory and putting out the records they did and the split with Warzone, this record I don't think gets talked about enough. And the song In Search Of, this is another one of those that it's like super fast and tight because it's got all those stops and starts in it. And it's like a just super positive song. It's Cause for Alarm, early New York hardcore. It's fast, it's tight. Keith's voice, he doesn't have a very growly voice. It's like his lyrics are very clear. Man, and it's a record that really should be, if people don't hold it at the same level as some of those early New York records, they're missing out because this one is top tier.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a hardcore 7-inch in '83, right? And it's really good. Like all the songs except for the last one are like a minute, which is sick. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm one of those people. Like this has always been like second tier for sure, maybe even third tier of this era, just because I think maybe it is the singing. Like this is cool. I'm glad it's on the playlist, and I like this. I'm not trying to slag it. But like, yeah, maybe the singing is just too normal. There's like, it doesn't sound that unhinged, and the bass is like loud. I don't know.
Also Kabula on bass.
Yeah. Well, he turned it all the way up, the mix is not that great on it. But yeah, it's good old hardcore. Like I enjoy this. I would just say that like, if we're comparing things against like the Antidote 7-inch, it's like it definitely lost. And like there's other things that even if I'm going to like not say they're as good as the Antidote 7-inch, they have like a charm to them. Like the Urban Waste like definitely has a charm to it. Like I can see how someone would like that more than the Antidote possibly. But like this is it's just a step below. But like hardcore in '83, like it's some of the greatest stuff ever. Like I would still give this 7-inch like, I don't know, a 7 out of 10. You know what I mean? It's just like, but it's in a year where there's so many 8, 9s, and 10s. It just like sits where it does. Do you think that's unfair, Clevo? Like I'm kind of the guy you're talking against here.
I mean, it's personal preference. Like, like people like chocolate, people like vanilla. I very easily could have taken an Antidote song. I could have taken something off of United Blood. I'm going to be mad at myself probably that I didn't, but like, also, there's just certain bands, we talk about the same bands all the time. I kind of want to talk about some different stuff from this year too.
No, I love the pick and I love that it's on the playlist. Like I'm not saying that at all. Maybe I'm just like disappointed in myself that this never like connected to me as much.
No, I remember when Victory, reissued this, I was really excited, got it, and listened to it. I mean, it's probably like 10 minutes or whatever, but I listened to it a hell of a lot that summer that it came out. So just really kind of clicked with me. And yeah, because this is one of those records too that like, I never saw an original copy of it until well into the 90s. It's just a record that just wasn't around.
Yeah,
and a thing that I think they suffer from legacy wise of like many different generations of hardcore kids getting into hardcore and looking back is the fact that AF did an LP called Cause for Alarm, and it almost like steals their thunder to an extent.
Well, I mean, they did an LP called Cause for Alarm with 2 members of Cause for Alarm in the band.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when people are getting into something and they get told, oh, check this out and check this out. It almost like just not denigrates it, or almost just steals the thunder of their own contribution.
Well, I will say though, I think this song is awesome.
Oh yeah, I love it, and I love that it's on the playlist. I'm gonna give it another shot. Let me see here. Okay, honorable mentions. Good God, dude, no one took the Misfits. Shame, shame, shame. Demon Mia. I love how it's like it just kicks. You know, it's like slower for a second, and then just blazes in. Good God, man. Suicidal Tendencies, Subliminal, Bad Brains, Rock for Light, Destroy Babylon, Ill Repute, Sleepwalking, one of my favorite songs of all time. God, I'm sorry, Stefan, I forgot your pronunciation. Antisemix, Total Silence, 45 Grave, Evil, 7 Seconds, Committed for Life, the song that sounds more like Minor Threat than any other song ever that's not Minor Threat. Adrenaline OD, House Husband, Battalion of Saints, Second Coming, Ben Got It, DI, Richard Hung Himself, classic SoCal punk. Deep Wound, Video Prick, that's a mid-tempo banger off that. Die Cruisin' or D Cruisin' or however the fuck you want to say it. Staffin. I'll wait for Staffin to tell me how to pronounce it, please. The song Pain. Government Issue, No Way Out, Iron Cross, You're a Rebel, Why Die, the whole 7-inch, shout out Joe Hardcore, Urban Waste, Ignorant, CIA, Love and War, The Dicks, Bourgeois, Fascist Pig, what's up? That's so sick. DRI, Commuter Man, Gizm, Document 1 with those Maiden guitars. Good God, man. And Clevo getting chased out of Boston for not taking anything from the FUs. I'm taking Unite or Lose. Dan, honorable mentions. Let's speed through them.
Okay. The Violators, Die with Dignity, Peter and the Test Tube Babies, The Jinx, the guitar riff on that is just so unbelievable. Coxbarra, Where Are They Now? Coxbarra, Take 'Em All. Coxbarra, Working. Coxbarra, England Belongs to Me, but, you know, that's 82. So, Minor Threat, Little Friend, absolute banger. Negative Approach, Tied Down. No one took that. Hello. SSD, Force Down Your Throat, SSD, Exclaim, AF, United Blood, Bad Brains, the Rock for Light recording of Right Brigade and Attitude, The Oppressed, Work Together, The Oppressed, Ultraviolence. I can't believe no one took this next song, Wipers, Over the Edge.
Oh, I had on my real list. That's why I didn't make it on my honorables. Messenger.
That's
pumped.
another killer. Rudimentary Peni, Rotten to the Core, Red Alert, We've Got the Power, Discharge, The Price of Silence, Antidote, Real Deal, Life as One, Zero Mentality, Got Me on the Line.
Yes.
And I'll just wrap it up there. Well, Public Opinion, Urban Waste. I'll wrap it there and let you lot say some more stuff.
Yep. Full Antidote 7-inch. Ben, go ahead.
7 Seconds, Drug Control. I had Crucifix Annihilation, SSD, Force Down Your Throat, CIA, Who Cares, going into the song Death, The Mob, Step Forward, Anti, Be Free. I had Antidote, Something Must Be Done, Beverly Hills Youth Brigade, aka LA Youth Brigade, Did You Want to Die, also Fight to Unite, Channel 3, All My Dreams, Deep Wound, Video Prick, the band that tried to play as fast as they could, and their mid-tempo song was the best song. The Abused, Drug-Free Youth. Negative Approach, Tied Down. Government Issue, Teenager in a Box. Faith, Say No More. Husker Du, It's Not Funny Anymore. The Factions, Skate and Destroy. Circle Jerks, Coup d'etat. Articles of Faith, By This War. AF, Friend or Foe. Meat Men, Mr. Tapeworm. Minutemen, Bob Dylan wrote propaganda songs. Urban Waste, Public Opinion, Aggression, Stop the Clock, DI, Reagan der Führer, DRI, I Don't Need Society, Fang, The Money Will Roll Right In, Misfits, Devil Lock, Coxbar, Riot Squad, Partisans, I Never Needed You, Blitz, New Age, Angelic Upstarts, Woman in Disguise, Newtown Neurotics, Kick Out the Tories, Big Boys, Brick Wall, Big Black, Cables, Riptides, Tomorrow's Tears, The Exploited, Let's Start a War, Breakouts, Trouble, Flesh Eaters, Life's a Dirty Rat, Legal Weapon, What a Scene, DYS, Circle Storm, Malignant, Growth, Hopeless, Zero Boys, I Need Energy, 45 Grave, Party Time, UK Subhumans, No, X, I See Red, Los Olvidados, Listen to You, B-52's Legal Tender, The Replacements, Run It, Bad Religion, Chasing a Wild Goose, and Big Country, Fields of Fire.
Dude, I did not know that Loud and Clear was this year. I thought it was 82 for some reason. God damn it. I would have taken Just Another Fool for sure. I don't know what it would have bumped, though. But god damn, that's 83.
I know we should have done a Super 14.
It should have been a Super 10 for 83. God damn it. Or we should have like initiated that rule again, like a band can only get picked once. For this one maybe. I don't know. Clevo, honorable.
AF, Discriminate Me, Antidote, Life is One, Blitz, Fatigue, Circle Jerks, Under the Gun, GI, Teenager in a Box, Husker Du, It's Not Funny. Let's see, Misfits, a couple of Misfits songs, Death Comes Ripping, Devil Lock, let's see, Negative Approach, Hypocrite, and Said It's Done. It's going to kill me that I didn't take anything off of that. Let's see, Rudimentary Peni, Rotten to the Core, Business, Suburban Rebels LP. I'm mad that nothing on that got on this list. Wipers, Over the Edge, Faith, Subject to Change, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, Suicidal, FU's My America, and Crucifix, See Through Their Lies.
Yeah, we should call out Negative Approach, Evacuate, maybe the best slow hardcore song ever. So that's 83. Yeah, I mean, it's impossible. But I just look at my list. It's like I can't lose any of this. Like I wanted that Wipers song so bad, but and it got left on the table. Fucking A. All right, everyone. 1983, killer year for hardcore. Dan, where can the people find you?
On Instagram at Southpaw Instagrammer.
Ben, where can the people find you?
On Instagram at Cold Chillin' Book.
And Clevo, where can the people find you?
At Clevo on Instagram.
Awesome. Everyone get at me. 185 miles south at gmail.com is the best way. I respond to everyone. Also 185 miles south on Instagram and Twitter. And also Zach Retaliate or Zach Oxton. What the fuck am I? Zach Retaliate on Instagram. And yeah, I don't use that one very much. And also, Retaliate is the best on Instagram. Everyone, we love you all. We'll talk to you next week on Patreon.